What's happening, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of the Indy and Dots podcast. We're joined by a very special guest. So special that he sent me a deck of his own bio to look through to introduce him today. Don't interrupt me, all right? I'm gonna do you over. He sent me a deck, right? Because he's world famous, people, right? But the best summary that I can give you is he is a singer and songwriter. He has performed backing vocals for artists such as Stormzy, Tweet, and on Emile Sande's last album. He's also been the opening artist for Faith Evans' UK tour in 2019, and he's performed at the O2 Indigo in London. He has also released a number of his own singles, and he also put his own EP out called Intermission Volume 1. He is Ric Williams. What's going on, Ric? How you doing?
What are you saying, Indy? I'm good, man. I'm good. It wasn't a deck. It's just like...
It was a deck. You sent me a deck, man. I'm not even kidding. It was like a Google Slides deck. And I was like, Ric. I messaged him an hour before. I was like, Ric, have you sent me a bio? He's like, he sent me a link. I was like, what does this do? Right. And I went through it. And it's got like folders, subfolders. Insane. Folder, subfolder, deck. I was like, whoa.
He sounds like my kind of guy. Where did it go? Was it Google Drive? Where did it go?
Google Drive.
Yeah.
See, he's an organized guy. Indy, you need to learn these things, man. That's how people do it.
I have learned these things.
Top elite level, right?
I've learned these things, yeah. It's too far, man. Way too far. I couldn't handle it, honestly. But impressive rundown, Ric, man. It's great to have you on because I've wanted to have someone from the music industry on, and you're the first person that came to mind because obviously we know each other outside of just normal. Oh yeah, hey, can you jump on my podcast kind of thing? I used to work with Ric, so.
I was gonna say, just fill everyone in. How do you know each other? Sorry.
So I used to work with Ric. We used to work at the last agency I was at in Birmingham.
Work with Ric or for Ric?
With him, me and him were in the same team.
We were in the same team.
Nice little caveat there, yeah. Nice little caveat.
I feel like you could work from.
I was there before Ric arrived, right?
You definitely was, yeah.
I was there when times were tough at the start of COVID, right? That's when I was there.
Oh, okay. So you guys worked together. So Indy, you were primarily obviously a marketer. Ric, what was your role when you were working with Indy?
Marketing, yeah. But,
okay.
But for Eastside Co, so not for the clients of that agency, but for the agency itself.
Okay, so you guys
there you
are
go,
marketers, man.
That's how me and Ric know each other. So, Ric, you know I've got a bunch of things that I want to ask you. My main question is, how did you get into music, basically? Because this is the most important thing people need to understand. How did you get that burning passion and fucking desire to want to be an artist and travel the world and shit, right? Tell me.
I think it started... I get asked this question a lot, and it's hard to pinpoint it. It's really hard to work out what was the moment or what was that series of... And I think there's a few things about it. I think I come from a musical family. And I say that not in like one of those... special stories where, dad's a producer and mum does this and they've done... It's not like that. And my family just really enjoy music. Right. So music has always played in the house. My granddad, like any granddad, just like a normal man, has an enjoyment for music, taught himself guitar, that passed down to like the kids like singing and music. So it's not like one of those stories where they're actually in the music industry. My family just really love music. And so that trickled down to me. I guess I got to an age, and I think it was about 7 or 8 where I remember in my mind feeling like this feeling that I get from music, I actually want to be able to give it back to other people. Nice. And
at a young age as well, man, flipping out.
Yeah, I think so. This is really hard. I'm trying to work out when again,
you could be completely lying to me, man, and I will believe you.
I've like I said, this question comes up a lot, and I've really tried to drill down into when was it. But yeah, I think around the 8-year-old mark, I started like really expressing myself through music. So not just being a passive listener and enjoying music, but being able to like, actually, I want to see if I can I sound like the people that I'm hearing? Can I write
drop some
like
bars?
Did
you try and do a Michael Jackson impression? That's all I want to know right now.
I was very late to the MJ train, so that was later on in life. But yeah,
Wait,
I did.
Another thing you said just there about the way it made me feel.
Right.
Give me that. What's the essence here? Like, what is it that music does for you, man?
So for me, I think music it's so spiritual. It's so transcendent. It's like the one thing that, well, it's not just the one thing, but it does unite us all. It doesn't need, you don't need to speak the language. You don't even need to understand what's being said in the song. It just carries.
Rick, on that point, man, question for you. Let's you'll probably know this. I don't know if Indy knew when I told him. Gladiator. Have you seen the film Gladiator?
Yes.
Right. The music, Hans Zimmer, awesome, right? Now, the last track, Now We Are Free, sang by Lisa Gerrard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which language is she singing in? Hello, shalom, long believe. Which language? Have a guess.
And Arabic.
It's a made-up language. Lisa Gerrard made this language up, age 3, 4, right? Got discovered by Hans Zimmer, who's like, she's like, yeah, I still use this language for herself, right? Drops this massive like song, and everybody hears that. It's like, it's emotive, it's transcendent. You're like there, you're like in the fields, and you're like, oh my God. It's a made-up language. And you're right, it is, the music has a universal kind of power, man.
It really does, man. It really, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I didn't know that. That is an amazing story. But it just goes to show.
When you're going to make up your own language, man, and like start
singing
it.
Do you know what? The cogs were ticking. It was like, really? I can just make up my own language and not have to string words together.
Man, and people like, yeah.
Right. Yeah, my output would be crazy now. I wouldn't have to put English words together. I'd just make up sounds.
Transcendent.
Okay. So you felt it about 6. You felt about 8 years old, and then you were like, it just gave you this great feeling, and then you just carried on with it.
Yeah. So I'd carried on with it. Like most traditional singers that sing my genre, so like R&B, there's definitely a big sort of church element to it. So like growing up in churches, like being part of like the choirs and like the services, and sort of honing your craft and understanding music, understanding the basics of music, understanding singing in a group of people, like public speaking, all of that church kind of provides, as well as this community feel. Do you know what I mean? So and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same for you guys in your sort of in your places of worship. But you've got this community feel, but you've also got life lessons that you eventually learn throughout your interaction with those organizations.
I think with Godden especially, he has that because he has the ability to be able to actually sing, and he can play a few of the instruments. And he understands the concept of it a lot better than I do. I appreciate it heavily, but he's really talented at it. I've been lucky enough to actually hear him sing, and I was like, he's very good with it, in the sense that no, this is me being very real. He's very smooth with it, and it's, I'm never going to say it to him in person, but I'll say it here because it's relevant, right? But he's very smooth with it, and it's as you said, it's a feeling, and the feeling of him singing and doing that in front of me and meditating is something that I feel, and I was like, that's actually really calming. Right. I can't put my finger on it, but it's just one of those things where I was like, yo, I haven't felt this before ever.
That for me is the magic there of music.
Mic drop. That's a mic drop right there. And the word that Rick used, right, which I saw Indy smile at, because we used, so backstory, Rick, we were on holiday together, couples holiday last weekend or the weekend before.
Oh, nice.
So there's an instrument called harmonium. I don't know if you've heard. Yeah. So I was playing harmonium, and we were doing the kind of spiritual singing, and the word we used for that weekend was transcendent. That was the word. Use that word, right? And I get it, man. I get it, and Indy feels it now. So, and it's one of those things where like this is kind of like where music is so powerful. So within Sikhism, Rick, a lot of what we do is about singing. Like you can pray by reading, but actually you can pray by singing, right? Yeah. And it's just a different experience. And then people say to me, "What's the value of doing that?" The answer is simple. Go and do it. Have an experience. You'll understand, man. Yeah. Why am I going to try and explain to you something? I said to you, it's like people say to me, so if I said to you, Rick, tell me a food you've never tasted ever.
Oh, what have I never tasted?
Or drink. Food or drink.
I don't even know. That's like. What have I
Rick, you ever
never
tasted
had?
everything? All right, okay. Have you ever tasted like, I don't know, shark?
No, I've never had shark. Never had
All
shark.
right, there you
Right.
go. Yeah.
Okay.
So Rick, please describe to me what a shark tastes like.
I have no idea.
Right, and
No
it's just
idea.
that this is the point, isn't it? You want an experience, go and have an experience. Have
Yeah,
an
that's
experience,
it.
reflect on it, and then you'll know, man. Like be in that space where, and then the magic will happen, man. If you give yourself to the music, you know what we call about like you become one with the
Yeah.
music. Time stands
Mhm.
still, and you just
So
yeah.
true.
The other side to that weekend was when we weren't doing that. We had this little karaoke going on, so we were all having couple massages, right?
Mhm.
And at this point, Indy's missus was upstairs, right? And we just went full flow, Justin Timberlake, Cry Me a River, John Legend, all
Right,
of me,
we went
like
all the way.
transcendent
I went so
voice.
far left. It was mad. Actually mad. I couldn't believe it, man. It was insane. Just sitting there listening to it, I was like, yo, this is great. But
it felt
again,
good,
it's a
right?
feeling,
It
innit?
felt
Did you
good.
get into it? Yeah.
So
It's
true.
all a feeling, man. So when you're in church and stuff, were you going every Sunday? Were you in the choir?
Yeah, so my family, that's sort of a big part of our culture. I would probably say definitely from a Caribbean, Jamaican household, that generation, church and that generation is synonymous. Like that's what that generation do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I pretty much grew up in church. So that would be on like the day of worship would be Sunday, and then you'd have the different things that happen in the week. So whether that's like elders or like teens or like kids stuff or just like general what they call like Bible study on a Wednesday. So church was pretty much like a major part of my life when I was growing up.
Rick, how early did you have to get up on Sunday to go to church?
Oh man,
I mean, just get out of bed and start getting ready because you got to look
like
good as
7,
well, right?
yeah, like you got to get
Yeah,
up at
7 a.m. I'm not about
7,
that.
Yeah, you got to get
Can't
up
lie.
at 7. There's
On
just
my
so much
Sunday,
to
are
do.
you taking the piss? Like what?
And Caribbean black churches, your Sunday's finished. If you leave the house at 7, just forget it. That's Sunday. That's
The
it.
whole
The
day.
whole
What time
day.
you getting home?
The whole day. Well, so you probably get home for like maybe 5,
Right.
but then you go back to the evening service. So you,
Oh, really?
yeah. So you get back
Go
to
back,
maybe quickly
shirt
go
change,
and eat.
let's go,
Literally
go
shovel
again.
food
Yeah.
down your throat, and then back again for
I
like
was going to
7
ask Rick,
o'clock.
how does it work in terms of food in the church? Like, what's the... So if you're there all day, like, how does that work?
Yeah. So you've definitely, like I said, got that community feel, like where you have like some of the older like women and mothers of like the community that will cook food for people that
That's
don't
nice.
want to go home. But usually Sunday for us is as a way to reconnect with family. So someone's always going to cook, whether it's going to be your nan, your mum, do you know what I mean? Or if it's an in-law, and then we all find ourselves at somebody's house. Now that normally is like a staple. So that's normally going to be like nan or grandma or the
consistent.
mum. Right. It's going to be that person that is the glue to the family. And everyone goes there on a Sunday and has dinner. So that's normally what happens. Either you go to church and you kind of mingle and have the church kind of experience of it, or you go home and then come back.
Wow. And this is like years of your life then?
Literally years of my life till my late teens.
What was the first Sunday you didn't attend? What was that like?
Do you know what? It was very weird.
Yeah. I
When you
thought
get
so.
to the age when you can choose, that the first time you don't go, it's a very scary experience, because you're like, actually, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I should go.
Yeah. You feel obliged to that.
Blasphemy!
But yeah, it was a very weird experience, and even after, like I said, being able to choose, it was a very weird experience. Like, right, am I going? Am I not going? Or why? Like, when you get to that age, you question the why. So why have I been doing this all these years, and what am I getting out of it? And
The value, what's the value? And that's the
what's the
question I'll
value
ask
for
you.
me? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
so
what is the
looking back
value?
at it now,
Oh
'cause
man,
it sounded like you were really well grounded, man. You had big, strong community. You got elders, a lot of wisdom, man. Like filtering
Yes,
down your around that
absolutely.
environment. So what's the value
Absolutely.
you got from being consistently in that environment in those kind of formative years?
I would say like invaluable life skills and I say life skills, not just your typical, being able to do X, Y, and Z in life and maneuver through life, but some of the complexities of life when you get to adulthood, of understanding relationship, dialogue, discourse, all of those things which you just don't realize are wrapped up in all of those experiences that you have in that community. Obviously, you're meeting people that have a shared experience, but have very different experiences. So we might at the core have, we kind of experience this and we know this and we understand what that means, and we have inside jokes and things that are quite consistent in the community, but actually you're meeting very different people in very different stages of their life. And having all of that, looking back now, is just, it has definitely shaped how I view the world, how I interact in the world. And I feel like it gave me a massive head start. 100%. When I look back now, I think without that experience, there's so much of me that I would have to have learned later on in life that I had innately and didn't realize, because you go every week, you have these experiences and you don't realize actually you're learning until you go out into the world. You go out into, you have to stand on your own too, and then you realize, oh wow, I do understand and I do know and I get it.
Are we talking about like performing skills or just confidence to perform in front of like loads of people?
So there's that as well. There's that which I absolutely took for granted until like further down the road when I started doing music more professionally. And it definitely felt like I had a head start over people. Like my confidence levels were in comparison through the roof, even though you learn to manage that. So I could be very nervous, I could be scared or whatever, but actually because I've been doing it for so long, you learn to manage what the outside looks like and just get on with it. It's
from like memory, isn't it?
Exactly that. And so confidence, being able to speak in public, being able to articulate, all of those things, being able to perform, understanding what moves or what doesn't, or being able to read the room and know, okay, actually this might not be working, let me go over here from a musical point of view. All of those things.
Real time. These nuanced things, man, like you're right. And what I have come to know as I get older is like stuff for you, Rick, when you're growing up, you're like, I've got this. Surely everybody has this.
Correct.
And then you're around other people and you're like, damn, man, like this is the norm. This
is not normal. This isn't the norm. This is absolutely. And like you said, that penny doesn't drop until you get a bit older. Like you said, you start your circles broaden a bit, and then you start to experience what out there looks like outside of your comfort zone and what you've known. Man. It sure is. But you're right. You really don't. And even as of late, I think I've definitely been in. I don't know if it's because of COVID or just because I'm getting older, but I've definitely been more reflective over my life and where I am and what stage I'm at. And looking back, I'm just like, wow.
Blessings.
I'm
blessings on blessings.
Absolutely.
It is pure blessings, man. I've fallen into this massive hole of like watching people bomb on stage of at concerts.
Right.
So there was one famous one recently, Rick. I can't remember the artist. I'm just checking through my search history now. But a lot of people made it during COVID, right? And they became big, and then they went to perform on stage. And Goran, it is some of the most jarring videos you'll ever watch. It's just a crowd silent, and you're trying to perform and get them going, and it's just not working. And the fucking confidence you have to keep going through your song, but the crowd is not fucking vibing, and you're just continually doing it.
I tell people there is a very big difference to being a recording artist versus a performing.
Live.
That's her name. Coy Leray. That's her.
Worlds apart. Okay, it's worlds apart.
You must have seen the video, right? Coy Leray.
I have.
Fuck me, man. It was so bad. Basically, context is that exactly. She'd never done it. She'd gone on stage, and people knew her songs, but she started performing newer songs. And it was so bad because everyone's like, I've never heard this song. And you're thinking, if you're a new artist, you do your song and you dip because you don't want to take any risks. Absolutely. If it's your first time at a big event, she didn't do that. And it was so poor. And I just sat there and thought, like, I kind of sympathise with you, but equally, you kind of opened yourself up to that a little bit. I don't really know how to assess it in a fair way because you just shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah,
like, how would you have gone about that, Rick?
Say that again.
How would you have gone about that situation?
So that again, like I said, that's years of like training, and obviously when I started doing it professionally, you learn tactics and mechanisms that help you be better when you're live.
Yeah.
No one's ever perfect. Even the best of the best are not perfect on any given day. But it's just about having those mechanisms and tactics that make you better. Like, for instance, what you won't realize is that a lot of these artists, when you see them live for the first time, what you're seeing, well, this isn't like a revelation, but what you're seeing is a very well rehearsed version of what they're giving you. So down to I don't know, the sporadic.
Down to saying, I see you in the back, girl with that top on. Like, is it rehearsed at that level? I knew it. I fucking knew they couldn't see it. I knew it was bollocks.
All of it.
Right.
And some of it is.
That's quite interesting because like comedians, they do shit with like the people in the crowd, right? But it seems like it's legit, and it's like they clearly don't know who's coming.
But some of those comedians do pay people to be there though, and they give them preferential treatment, and they say like, if you come to the show and do this and let me roast you, I'll let you sit backstage with me for like a little bit and we can have a chat. Like, some of them do that.
I didn't know.
That's another hidden thing.
Definitely with performance, one of the things I learned, especially early on in doing it professionally, is that you have to allow your body, your brain to experience what it might possibly experience on stage, so you know how to deal with it. Because when you get on stage, your adrenaline will just hit the roof. Yeah. And everything that you've learned goes out the window. So if you're dealing with something that's completely new, your reaction to that is going to be completely new, and it probably won't even be what you expect it to be. But if you rehearse some of that, because you don't know, if you rehearse some of that, when it happens, you flip back to, okay, I've been here before. Yeah, this is what I do when I'm here, kind of thing. And so, not to take away the magic of performance, because 100% there is still random creation that happens in the middle of performance. But knowing,
it's beautiful, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember once, Rick, Indy, he records some of my content I put out on YouTube, but we sit in a room and it's like, there's a script of sorts, quite loose, but I can spit, right? But then when I'm doing a live talk, and I remember doing a talk just before COVID, and I was on stage, I was walking across stage, and I forgot what I was meant to say. And so I ended up doing this big dramatic pause. And then I made a joke, which was never in the speech, but it dropped. And then it was just like, okay, reset. And then where I need to go. Because the other thing I always tell people when they perform is like, people don't know what you know, in the sense of
100%. Nobody knows.
You're not reading it verbatim, right? So you think it's a script in your head, and if you don't deliver, then whatever. But no one knows that, man.
No, but hang on. If it's a song, you fucked it. Because if someone in the audience knows your lyrics better than you, it's done. It's done.
Well, that's why you play the back of the song, man. You play the back of the song. You just cover it over the top, man. That's it, right?
There's that. And it's funny you say that, because I was talking to another musician friend of mine, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to deliver perfect performances, but nobody knows what we're going to deliver, if that makes sense. Nobody knows that, okay, on the second verse, I want to change this note to 2 times higher than it was, or maybe do a fancy little run that doesn't exist on the original recording. Nobody knows that. That's all in my head.
And the other thing, Rick, what I found is, if you know your material, right? So to you, it's not... Like, I have this feeling as well. Oh, it's not that good. It's not that special. But then when I drop some of my material to somebody who's never heard it, they're like, "Wow, this is amazing!" Right? Like Indy, when I was with you guys, Gerps is like crying. To me, like I know my tunes, man. I know what I'm doing. Like I do that so like years and years and years. But somebody's never heard it. I forget what it's like to hear it for the first time.
100%.
Right? But then you put that in the thing. You're like, "Oh, this is some good stuff, man." I'm just used to it. It's different.
It's exactly it. Exactly that.
That's the thing, man, and it's important to sit and think, like, artists that are going to riff and stuff, you have to have that connection with the band as well. Because if they're just thinking it's the same thing, they need to learn how to riff with it at the same time. You have to have faith with one another, even though you probably never worked with one another before.
100%. Yeah, that's so key. Like I said, all of these things are like things you don't see. So like the band will be rehearsing for weeks on end, like all day, weeks on end, all day, like from like 9 till 8 o'clock. Just like a shift. Jesus. And just working, going over the set. And then what you get is you get this chemistry when you eventually get to that live show. You get this chemistry because they've been together for so long, rehearsing the same thing. Or you have a band that's been with a particular artist for a very long time, so they have a natural chemistry. Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time that I saw Drake. He was so bad.
Wait,
bad. Really?
Did you see him as an independent, or did you see him? I saw him open for Jay-Z, Blueprint.
So you saw him open for Jay-Z. I saw him at his first big concert. So he came, but it was J. Cole was the warm-up act.
Right.
And J. Cole was really fucking good. And then Drake came on and he was really shit. And I was like, yo, this isn't fly. Because I hate when artists miss out words of their song. I'm like, your breath control shit. Because I'm like, your breath control now is just not right. You clearly haven't prepped for this, or you're nervous or whatever. Like, you should know your discography, is it? Off by heart. Mm-hmm. You should know that through and through.
You say that. But there's many times that I've forgotten words of my own song. You know what it is? It's because you don't like sing it as often. So it's not. It's just
as much as people listen to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
So
that is true.
now you've got to relearn something that you've actually written. But it does happen.
But this is when he only dropped his mixtapes, and he just dropped So Far Gone, and
best I've ever had.
Thank Me Later. He just dropped that, so he was having the whole thing around that concert, which is it. And I was like, okay, you haven't got that big a catalog compared to say Now, but cool. And I was there, and girls were like, oh my god, it was amazing. I loved the exact phrase I heard was, I love how he missed out bits of the song so I could sing it for him. And I'm like, bitch, you're so deluded. You're so deluded. Right?
So you do, man. You get the mic in it. You do this, man.
You get the mic and you do that shit. You point to the audience like, sing it for me. And I'm like, I'm not here to sing it for you. I want to hear you sing it. Right?
I want the show. I paid for a show. Give me a show.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a lot of variability, man, within the industry. And you're right. The best performance I've ever seen is Watch the Throne, man. Jay-Z, Kanye West.
Same
extra
concept,
show added to Birmingham. But the worst I've seen, 50 Cent, man, in Birmingham. Terrible.
Really?
I don't know how many shows he's in. Like, his voice is gone. Like, it's just croaky. It's all his backup singers singing. They're doing half of the song, and there's bang, 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 bang. And it's terrible, man. Like, it's built up like, oh, man, 50 Cent, it's gonna be wicked. But Jay-Z and Kanye, man, just different level.
That was unstoppable. I saw that and I was thinking that was the best concert I've ever been to, and I was like really close to them as well. And I was like, I'm never gonna get this experience again.
You were there, Birmingham.
Which one? Because I went to the one where they were at the NEC.
Tour. Yeah.
No, I didn't go to the. It wasn't the last show or something. It was like snap in the middle of something.
Oh, okay.
So it was in the middle of everything, but that was wild, man. Goosebumps thinking about it. Honestly, it's crazy.
The one I went to, because it was last tour, they because I was kind of like these platinum seats, right, and they're doing the mosh pit and stuff, and no one could understand like why people weren't like. Jay would do this thing where, you know, before he dropped that song Indy and In Paris,
okay, we're gonna come to that.
Right. But before they drop here, he'd be like, all right, get back, and then again, and then everyone would go, right? And we were like, why is everyone taking the piss, man? Just listen to what the guy's saying. Just do it. We want to hear the song. We found out afterwards it's because Kim K and Beyonce are in the mosh, right? They're there, and everyone's trying to like touch them
in Birmingham.
Wow. It's the last tour, so they're there, and then this guy tweeted afterwards. He was like, "Oh, felt Kim's ass. It was really nice." And so people wouldn't get back, man. Yeah, so they were there in the middle as well. So it was just a crazy.
Oh my days! I didn't know that at all, man. That is wild. Rick, how did you make the jump from obviously from church to professional? When did you start making those steps in that direction?
Oh man, so yeah, I get to sort of the church phase, and then you start to branch out you start to look for other opportunities. So how can I take this outside of church? What I know.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because a lot of the musicians that play in church end up being some of the musicians that are behind some of the most famous people that we know and see and love from a live point of view.
Songwriters.
As musicians, as bass players, as drummers, as guitarists, as BVs, so backing vocalists, as tour managers. It's like a funny transition. So the transition is quite easy because you know a lot of these people. So it will start as something.
You went to church with them, and then you're like,
or this person knows that person. It's actually, I get it. So you put the feelers out, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'd like to do. Who's the best person to speak to? And usually that degree of separation is just so small that you can literally start having conversations with the musical director of Jessie J's band at the time, or
that quick,
proper decision makers. Bang.
Exactly that, because that's the transition from musicians that play in church. Normally, you find themselves on the big pop gigs or the big stadium gigs. That's just the way it seems to happen. My transition was I did it. Then I did school. I did uni for a year, and then I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to.
What were you studying?
I think at the time it was computer studies with like business. It was like a hybrid course.
Okay.
And I did it for a year, and I just felt like, okay, I might never get an opportunity to run at this as hard as I'd like. And I've always been weird like that. I've always been like a further ahead of my years in terms of where I'm thinking I am and where I want to go. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, I'm 19 now, and in maybe 7 or 5 years, I might have a family, and I might not be able to be on the road, and I might not be able to pursue some of these things as hard as I'd like. So I thought, okay, let me take this time now and do what I'm doing. And if I fail, I fail. I still have, I don't know, 5-7 years to catch up and build a life. So that's what I did. I got to like 18, and I was like, okay. I just want to do this. I just want to do this professionally. And so it started off as like doing backing vocals for like open mic nights and special nights for artists. And then you progress, your name gets around, and then you end up maybe on a single show, and then you end up on a tour, and then one tour leads to 2 tours, and then you end up on albums and stuff like that. So it was just it was a natural progression. Just being it, but it's all about networking. It's about just putting the feelers out, and then one foot in front of the other just kind of leads you to the next bigger opportunity. Because
you were progressing quite quick. Because as I said in the intro, you were the opening artist for Faith Evans. How did you get the opportunity?
So that was that's actually one of the biggest moments for me personally. I know it might not mean much for some people.
No, it means a lot, but it's also a piss take because you had that and then COVID hit. And I was like, I saw the timings behind it, and I was like, that's a bit shit. Like, it's annoying how it's just everything just gets stopped in its tracks.
So for me, I've and it's really weird. I've never really chased the fame of being a musician. It was just more the ability to do it on a bigger scale. So for a while, I did the 9-to-5 thing, and I was content, happy, and still doing the music on the side. And I think I got to 2017, had a really great job, and then I just had the itch. I just had this burning, like, okay, have I done everything? Have I really, really run at this?
Did you squeeze everything out of it you could have?
Yeah. Just for me personally, and again, it might not look like, oh, have I done the stadiums, or have I been signed by a big record label? Is have I given myself the opportunity to express the way that I want to in this life? Will I regret anything? 2017, I had that question mark. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to create now music with no agenda. I'm not trying to get playlisted. I'm not trying to get on the radio. I'm not trying to get signed. Prior to that, there was definitely a lot of that in the mix. It was, okay, actually, I want all of these things. Yeah. I'm doing this
pressure,
to get
or was that a goal you always wanted?
I think
there's a difference.
I think it's what you believe the journey looks like, because that's what you see. All we see is, okay, person A, they have this experience, then they make this song, then they get signed, and then all of this happens off the back of it, and you think, oh, to get to there, these are the steps that I need to take. And I think I was chasing that because I always felt like, all right, if I want to be able to share my music to a mass of people, these are the steps that I'm going to have to take. And then, like I said, I got to 2017, I realized, one, I think I realized that my vision or goal for myself wasn't about the amount of people I reach. It was about the impact over what that looks like from a numbers point of view. And so I was like, okay,
mentally.
I'm not creating for anything other than I'm creating songs that I love. When I sit back and listen back to it, I'm like, yeah, I really like that. And so I started doing that in 2017, and in 2018, it just went crazy for me. Like I said, I wasn't even trying. One of the songs that I wrote in that period and released got picked up by One Extra, then Capital Extra, then Radio One.
How did that happen? How did that get picked up?
Do you know what? It's funny because my wife jokes about this. Is she made, so there was a DJ who at the time, DJ Ace, he still does, it's just slightly different. He had an R&B show that he was launching for One Extra, and Michelle was like, just DM him, just send him a DM, just say, okay.
Genuinely, that's what she said.
She was like, just like, what have you got to lose? And that's always our thing, is what do you have to lose? Like, the worst you can get is a no, and you're no further along than you was before. You haven't lost anything. You're in the same position.
Shoot shot, man.
Exactly. So yeah, I really just shot. I was just like, look, I know you got R&B show. I'm an R&B artist. Here you go. And it was his track of the week for the show, the very first show.
Wow, that's a big achievement.
So yeah, it was huge, man. It was huge. And then that just propelled me to other things. It gave me that recognition. And funny enough, the Faith Tour, the reason why we're having this conversation, was another shoot your shot moment. We were trying to...
Did you DM her?
So I'll tell you what happened. So we was trying to do it the diplomatic way and find out who the tour manager was, who was organising the event, who the promoters were. Yeah, and just try to have like a just your typical way in, okay, this is what I do. It'd be great if I did the support. And we just couldn't find like a reliable person to get to the source. And so we just said, you know what? I'm just going to send a tweet. I'm going to tweet the promoter and I'm going to get everyone to retweet it. So I tweeted and said something like, yeah, it'd be amazing if I could open up for Faith Evans on her tour. If you think so, just retweet this and let the promoters know. And it went mad. Like, it just went crazy. And it was at a good point, because the song Come Over was doing very well. That's the song that kind of pushed me into a little bit more recognition. So I was already on an upward trend. So I had a lot of attention on me.
That's all timing, man. You used
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Wow, because you were hot at the moment.
And so yeah, we tweeted that, and I think in an hour we got a DM back just to say, yeah, let's have a conversation.
No.
And so I was only meant to do I was only meant to do the Birmingham show. And then the promoter was like, nah, just do all three. And then they made me the main support act for the show. So there was two other? There was one other support, but I was the main one. So I was the one that was just before Faith Evans. So yeah, man, it was such a dream come true. I got to meet her. She completely gassed my life. Like, I got to sit down and she told me
what was she saying?
She just told me how incredible I was and how much she loved my songs, and Because even in the set, I did I paid homage to her song. So my song's called Come Over, and she has a song called Come Over. So I weave that into my set, into the bridge of that song, just to pay homage. And yeah, man, she just, Little C's as well, like came over to me because he was on the tour with Faith.
That's weird. Why was he on the tour though?
Because they're part of the sort of the Bad Boy family, right? So Biggie,
the Bad Boy family and Biggie days. Yeah.
So Little C's and
bruv, I haven't heard that name in years.
I'm
Last
telling
time I
you,
heard his name said was in a Biggie song.
This is what I'm saying.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
Junior Mafia. So yeah, man, they like literally came to my dressing room. I didn't go and seek them out. They came to my dressing room and was like, "Yeah, your songs are incredible. You're such a great artist." She gave me a number. She said, "Anytime you're in LA, just hit me up. Let's work."
Bro,
and I was
that's insane.
just wild, man. It's just wild, especially like for a kid like me that like born in Jamaica, grew up in Hackney. Those things are just out of any imagination. In no vision or dream did I see myself doing that, and I think that's why it's such a big moment for me, personally. And then COVID hit, so we had some amazing plans. We had some tours lined up, and then COVID hit, and everything kind of stood still. But I guess everything happens for a reason. So yeah, that's how I got the Faith gig, just punting. Just shooting my shot.
Everything happens for a reason, which means that's how you met me, innit? So
there you go. Absolutely.
There you go, man.
Absolutely.
It all came full circle.
There we go.
From Faith Evans to Indy Carer, that's what it's about, man. I'm telling you.
That's it. Same level. Yeah?
Same levels, bro. Right?
Level.
Were
you still working at the time and touring? So were you like working a 9 to 5 and jumping in the car to go?
Yeah, man. That's always been my thing. I value having something stable, and I get it. Some people will like literally just cancel their life and go for the dream, and I admire that. But I just have too much to lose to do that. So we work them both as hard as exactly. We work them as hard as possible, and for me, again, the music thing is fun. It was only when things started to change in the way that they did that I had to see it as a business and something that was very serious. But for me, it was fun. So actually clocking off at 5:30 to go and do a gig was just like, okay, I'm just having fun. I'm not thinking about it any other way other than, okay, this is what I do after work, or this is what I do on the weekend. Yeah.
That's a great way to think about it, man, because a lot of people don't think of it that way. They just think, I've got my shot now, that's it, done. I'm going to call it.
So do you know what? Do you know what really changed me? So it was when I was, like I said, when I was 19, up until a bit earlier than that. But yeah, I did the session singing for about 4 or 5 years. And when I came out the back of it, I hated it. I hated singing because it became work. Like it became a job. And I said to myself off the back of that, if I ever do this again, in whatever capacity, whether I'm doing it as lending my voice to other people or I'm doing it for myself as an artist, it's got to be fun. I've got to be able to still enjoy this. It can't be what it was. And so, I think that's the learning curve that I went through. At 19, and a lot of people think it's glamorous to be all over the world. Different
no.
To be all over the world.
You have to pay for your own flights and shit as well, right? Like it's not like it's all paid for you.
Absolutely. Well, my experience as a session musician is all of my expenses are covered. So if I'm going on a tour, a European tour, I don't have to worry about anything. I know my flights are covered, my hotel's covered. Obviously tour bus, so there's no accommodation having to worry about that. My food is covered. I'm getting per diems. Yeah, I'm getting per diems to cover my food as well as my fee. I'm getting paid for days off. I'm getting paid for travel days. So in terms of what it looks like, it's very luxurious, but after a while it's very taxing when really all you're seeing is the sort of airports, hotel rooms, and then you're backstage sound check, back to the hotel rooms.
Yeah.
So I've been to many places in this world, but I've seen very little. So people say, "Oh, have you been?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have been. I have been to this place, and I have it, but I haven't."
But I guess for you having that fusion that's why it's good, man. Like, if it's everything you did and you went full tilt, and look, we've seen loads of. Let's take Michael Jackson, man. We talked about Michael Jackson before. That man had more in this world than most people ever have.
Exactly.
10, 12 generations. But he still wasn't happy. He still wasn't fulfilled, man. You can't buy that, right? Despite
you really
outwardly having wealth. But I guess for you, it's like, yeah, you've seen the real side, but then you still got, like you said, your stability, you got your family, you're keeping it real, but you're doing the thing you love.
Exactly.
And something really good I read recently, which is like everybody talks about you need to do what you love. It's all about that. But this guy, he was like, no, first love what you do and then do what you love. But the first thing you have to, whatever environment you're in, you just need to optimize. When I started setting up my businesses, Rick, I had this whole thing about, so the first thing I went into is like property investing. When you go to these property guy network meetings, it's all about, leaving 9 to 5, become a passive income generator. It's all people talk about now, crypto and those bullshit. But the thing is, it's like these things are not sustainable.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, right? They're not sustainable because you're going to get bored, you're not stimulated from my point of view. The second thing is, it's not going to happen, man. Like most people, like doctors I work with now, they want to do this thing and they want businesses. Say, look, you can do it, but this bridging period where you've got to have this and try and hustle and work on it. It takes years, man.
It does.
And you've got to know that, and you've got to be realistic about expectation, not think like you said, get discovered, bang, 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 bang. And that's it. So yeah, that's really cool.
Ric's story of making it is a rare one as well. Like that doesn't happen often, especially if you're like a new and up and coming artist. It's hard.
Yeah, it
to
doesn't.
Have that sort of success level happening.
I've definitely had blessings along the way. I've had things that I didn't orchestrate. Like I didn't. It's just happened, or I've been in the right place at the right time. I've taken risks at the right time. It's just been a series of. I joke and say it's just been a series of punts. I've just been blagging it and landing each time. Even like with some of the biggest features that I have on the EP and people that I've been able to feature with, people look at me like, how did you get that feature? I'm like, I just blagged. I didn't blag. I just asked the question. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned from like my dad is just ask the question. Like you don't lose anything if you just say, or can I, or can you do this for me? Or is it possible if you don't lose anything? And 9 times out of 10.
That's such a big confidence builder, man, to have from a young age. Like I struggle with that. Like me and Goran are talking about getting guests on and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if we should approach that person because
just do it.
No. But I'm like, I now have to change my approach and be like, all right, it's a numbers game. I've got to approach as many people as possible.
Exactly.
And try and get them
exactly.
on. And then
unrealistic, man.
Yeah.
100%.
If I put
100%.
share screen on right now, show you my Instagram inbox. I'm messaging people like Will Smith,
right,
Sullivan, Jay Shetty. I'm like, listen, we need to talk because da.
But you see the beauty about some of that.
But it's just like, man, you got to put yourself out there. Absolutely.
The beauty about some of that is you just never know what connects with another individual. And just because you see yourself here, if something resonates, it doesn't matter what levels we're on. Like some of the features that I've been able to get for projects of past and projects that I'm working on, it's not been because I'm any sort of special person. It's because something about that song has connected with whoever I've sent it to, and they've seen past blue ticks and 50,000 followers or whatever, and have just seen actually this song is great, and I want to be a part of it.
Real guy, he's a real guy.
Exactly, and that's definitely something I've learned on this journey. Is as basic as it sounds, we are all the same. Just because they've got a blue tick and millions in the bank. They still see themselves as a human being. For the most part, we do have people that get a bit crazy and they just become something else. But for the most part, they see themselves just like you and me. They have family and friends and do you know what I mean? It's the same. Yes, they're 100%. Nothing is different. we just place them on a higher pedestal. Because of for whatever reason. But for them, they see themselves through their own eyes.
Because of the blue tick, I'm telling you, right? That's it.
But it's building relatability, isn't it? If you make yourself relatable to their situation or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And you're right. Once you break into these circles, let's say, you never know, man. And that's where you said the power of networking.
Absolutely.
Is that whether it's music, whether it's business, it's
absolutely.
The thing I always tell my clients, Rick, is when somebody is in a position of power, right, or for them to open a door for you is not a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very little, right? So getting yourself in those opportunities where actually you can get it, that's what it's about.
Just go for it.
Really is.
Yeah, man.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I need to sort of pivot this into a different direction because artists are getting paid in it, as you know, Rick. Garan, I don't know if you know this, artists get paid literally fuck all. So there was an article put out by the BBC the other day.
What kind of level are we talking about when you say artist?
So I'll explain it now. I'm going to do like a little segment here, like how I do with that with our podcast. But essentially, Rick, I don't know if you saw this, but what happened was Spotify and Apple were put under scrutiny by MPs, and they said you're not paying artists enough. So the stats exactly are, I've got them here. Artists receive only 16% of all royalties generated from streaming. 16, yeah. And MP said
is that 16% of a big number?
Well, 16% of all royalties. So that's just royalties. That's not even revenue. It's not full revenue, is it? It's just
so we don't see revenue. So artists don't see any revenue generated from those platforms, which are powered by users, artists. We see.
Yeah, the full breakdown gets even deeper into that because record labels and publishers tend to keep the majority of those
100%
mentioned. MPs have basically said thanks for saving the music industry from piracy, but now you fucked it even more because looking at the numbers of how much you get paid per stream, it's fucking extortionate. Spotify pays out between 0.002 pence to 0.0038 pence a stream. That's how much they pay for one stream.
So I listen to a song on Spotify.
Yeah.
Right. Rick Ross song, let's say. That's how much he makes.
Per stream.
That's what you say.
Per stream. Yeah.
So it does get a little bit more complex because some of those artists will have different deals because they're making the labels a little bit more money.
The top 1% make like millions.
Yeah.
So really, like our podcast, it's on Spotify. How come we don't get paid 0.002%?
Because we're not music artists and we're not going through a record label. So the record label will get they'll get that level of stats to you. Yeah, offline. It's not the same thing. So if we did, I'm sure we would have 10p in our bank account. So that'd be
yes, reinvest that. Rick,
so Apple Music pay 0.0059p a stream, which is great. That's a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's sort of the only way around this is to sort of get artists paid is to get them to work with independent labels or a distribution company. But with that comes much level marketing power and much less leverage. So it's like a catch-22. How do you want to do it? Now, streaming companies were then asked to comment on it, and they said they're open to changing it to a 50-50 split of royalties. But then they pointed the finger at other people saying, well, 70% of their revenue or income goes to record labels, artists, and publishers. So someone seems to be lying, and I don't fully trust it.
Well, it's definitely not. It's definitely not artists. Artists are not making money from streaming. No one that I know.
That's why artists are lenient on tours, right?
100%, because that's the only way to make money is to go out on the road and sell your merchandise and get that ticket money. 100%, because we're not making any money from streaming. So
and sometimes venues want to take a percentage of your merchandise money.
Streaming is
it's vanity.
It's branding, isn't it?
It's branding. It's awareness.
So I hear your music, so I want to go and see you live.
Yeah.
So it has its role, but it's not for income generation.
Not at all. And it's definitely a vanity game. It's definitely a vanity game because a lot of those playlists are gatekept. Like the idea that anyone can make a song, it get discovered on Spotify, and then it just blows up because some editor in Spotify has found this song and now it's on every playlist. The chances of that is like winning the lottery. It's like every week playing the lottery, thinking you're going to win. It does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen organically, where a song is just found, discovered, and people gravitate to it and it blows up. But every song that we like, every song that's popular is orchestrated that way, because these labels are making an investment in artists. They're making an investment in marketing. They're making an investment in branding. They're making an investment across the board, making investment in making the music. So getting the best producers in the room, best songwriters in the room to create things for a particular artist. So a lot of it is orchestrated. So this song has to do well because we've put X amount into it. So it needs
we need some money back off it.
Absolutely. And again, not to talk disparagingly about the industry, because it still has its pros. It is just one big game. It is just one big game, really.
I genuinely think I really struggled to sit and think, how was it when CDs were made? Because with that, you could see where the money was split, and people were like, okay, I can see where the money's going. So thinking back to like the 90s and 2000s, Sales. It was just like, I went gold, I went platinum. And you could do that with like album sales. So that's a real figure. But now it's like, I went gold on streams, but I'm getting like X percentage less than how I would have got if I was going gold on a CD. Set amount of sales.
So
that's
like,
not,
for instance,
that's not comparable.
If you look at, let's just say a song, I've got, I don't know, 150,000 streams on one of my songs. If that was CDs, I'd be having a very different conversation. In terms of
talking to me, mate. Let's be real, man. You're talking to me.
No, Indy would DM you.
Right, exactly.
I'd shoot my shot, and I'll be like, Rick, are we allowed to say the M word? Tell me the hypothesis, and then you'll jump on and tell me, right?
So it's a very different game. It's a very different game. Streaming is really just for vanity metrics. Obviously, it does get you through the door in certain things. It's good to have, because if you can say, actually, I can stream this well, then it's some indication of your popularity and how well that song can do in other places. But it's just one big game. It is kind of one big game, especially for independent artists. If it's really about connecting with your core fan base, and it's not even about numbers, really. Connecting with your core fan base and growing that. Like if you've got 500 people that really dig what you do, then you're in a really good position as an independent artist, because that possibly means 500 people that would pay £10 to come see you deliver a live show.
That's decent. Yeah.
Start to make a difference. 500 people that would spend £10 to buy a single from your album or a T-shirt. All of those things. When you look at that, you don't need 1 million streams. You just need 500 people, and when you and that's how that is how some of these artists have sort of broke the system, where they've just decided, I'm going to concentrate on my core and I'll grow that, and then you can't ignore it anymore. When 500 people start evangelizing, and that 500 turns into 1,000, that 1,000 turns into 10,000.
Organic, and then it grows. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you've had no label, you've had no marketing strategy. You've just grown your.
Who's the best example of this, Rick?
Oh, who's done this very well? Chance the Rapper did this very well.
Okay.
And when SoundCloud was kind of like the growth hack.
Why did SoundCloud die? I never understood that. It was big and now no one goes on it.
I have no idea.
It must have been like an algorithm change.
I think it's brilliant.
It's good for mixes, but artists used to get discovered on there really easily, but now they can't, and I don't know why.
Do you know why?
I really need to look into it myself, but...
So, it was around licensing as well, so a lot of artists were doing...
covers.
Or things like... Or going over songs that they didn't have license licenses to do. So the label started cracking down on that, obviously because there was money to be made in licensing fees. And so that breed of artist that was forming on SoundCloud no longer had an avenue. So I think that's one of the reasons.
Okay, that makes sense. So Chance the Rapper, he's probably the best example. That makes sense because he's got a cult following. He wasn't really known at all. Well, this kind of leads on to the next bit, which is streams linked to... So streaming platforms now are sort of leaned on quite heavily. You have to have a numerous amount of streams to make it or to have your song pop. So now you tend to see artists make songs that are made for TikTok. So that it can be played on TikTok, and then that gets played again and again and again, and people are like, what's that earworm? And then eventually you go on Spotify and you listen to it. Growth hack. Problem is that some artists now, there was a little bit of an issue with that recently. So black TikTokers got pissed off on TikTok because their dances were getting nicked by others. So Goran, I'll give you like a bit of a brief here. So on TikTok, it's all about like different trends on there. You can do numerous things, but the most common one is dancing. And a lot of black TikTokers were making these really viral dances. People with a higher following who weren't black were then copying it, using it themselves, and then getting money endorsements off that, and then allowing it to pop even more. So what black TikTokers did was they said, we're not going to do it for any more songs. So who was it? Megan Thee Stallion? She had a new song come out, and it only did like 22 million streams, which, you know, isn't much apparently. But she was upset with that small number because normally it would have been bigger because there was no one to make a dance and there was no one to make a song for them. Or sorry, there was no one to make a dance for them that was going to be viral enough for other people to copy. Prime example of this is a girl called Addison Rae. She's a famous girl on TikTok. She went on Jimmy Fallon, performed the dance. Then other people who watched the show or people who were really famous copied it and then used that forward. But she didn't make that dance. It was made by another girl. And that other girl was called, what was her name? Jalaya, I think it is. She made it and she said she didn't get credit for it. And if you don't get credit for it, again, it goes back to the similar topic like we just had, which is about not getting credit and then getting screwed over for it. She didn't get the endorsement money. Her idea got jacked, and it's plagiarism. That's it.
If you own the IP.
Yeah, but how can you own IP of a dance? So it's sort of like it's a really, really grey area.
Comes down to morals, and if you have the right morals, you wouldn't do it anyway. But if you don't, you're ruthless, and you just had to make you pee. Then that's what you do, man. But it's not sustainable. That's the thing, you know. Like if you can't come up with this stuff, eventually.
Well, this is it, and this is why I think there's a whole hoo-ha on TikTok is where black creators were like, okay, we're not going to create now. So is that
what you can do?
Exactly.
I don't blame them. I'd do the same thing. I'm like, yo, fuck it, man. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, what's the point? Seems like bollocks because if we're just going to end up getting shafted for it afterwards.
Rick, what do you think about OnlyFans?
I think OnlyFans is another great thing the internet has given us, the ability to make money direct to consumer and cutting out the middleman. I like what it has done in terms of opening that opportunity out into other things other than what OnlyFans is typically known for.
The connotation. But those people, man, like every, you're scrolling on Facebook, right, and you'll get this thing about ex-policewoman now makes £10,000 a month.
It's ridiculous.
Like, shares, right? And you're just like...
Bro, you need to stop reading the Daily Mail, man.
Yeah, it's always the Daily Mail. But it's like, I look at that because I'm trying to understand the metric. I'm like, okay, fine. Because I did a bit of research myself. And again, my connotation was...
okay, all right.
I was like, OnlyFans is for this. And then I looked at the actual About Us and what it's actually for. And it's like, no, this is for creators and people who want to produce content. I was like, it's really far from that. But then I looked to see if there are any doctors in that space. There's only one or two. So I'm toying with the idea of putting some stuff out there just to see.
So there's Patreon. Patreon's really good. Patreon. That's like is another version of OnlyFans, but it doesn't have the same connotation. Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit more. I'm providing you something. I'm providing you a service, knowledge, or whatever, and you're going to pay for the access of that. Which is, like I said, it really just opens up streams of income that just weren't available to us in the past. And I think because the world is so local now, you're bound to find someone who's interested in your ideas, in your talent, in what you can give and what you can share, and who's willing to purchase that and make payment for that.
Conversion, man. I mean, I think, although you talk about, like 500 and things like that. So as an example, Rick, I'm doing something now. I'm working with a YouTuber, 2 million subscribers, right? So we're doing like a co-thing, and he's going to drop a video positioning what I do in the next coming month. If I can put 1% of his subscribers, man, like that's just...
Well, this is it. This is it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and you're right, the world is big, but once people have access, then it's like finding your people, your niche, and then Patreon stuff. My sister listens to a lot of podcasts, and she'll do some Patreon stuff on there. And the increments, like, they're not stupid, man. They're like £1, £3, £5.
They're reasonable.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And Indy, you showed me a podcast recently.
Flagrant 2. Yeah.
How much? What's their monthly income?
About 25k, I think it is.
Right, and so they've got the number of users. It's really transparent, isn't it? Patreon will say you have this many.
Yeah, it tells you how many users you have, how many
at
people,
this level,
how
and
many
you're like,
subs.
this isn't that unachievable. I look at that and I get inspired, and I think, okay, there's this many people paying like £1 or £2. I said to India, I was like, we can do that.
It easily adds up. It really does add up. And like you said, because the world is so local now, you're playing in such a big field. So you're not just trying to find 500 people in Birmingham and everyone else is competing in the Birmingham space. Actually, you're worldwide, and there's going to be billions of people that are going to resonate with whatever you're saying, doing, giving, and it's an amazing opportunity. It's such an amazing opportunity.
Of course,
leverage.
Rick, why have you not put anything out for a while then, music-wise? Is it studio time? Is it anything else?
That's a good question. I spent the last 4 years like really running hard. So maybe 3 or 4 songs a year. And it might not sound like much, but that's 3 or 4 campaigns we're talking about.
Break it down for us. So how much is it to like get studio time, get a beat, get a producer, to have it mastered? Like take us through like a step-by-step campaign.
Oh, so it all adds up. Thankfully, I got some really good advice earlier on, and I started using some of the money that I was making from sort of professional session musician into buying gear. So buying sound cards, buying laptops, buying monitors, buying microphones, and being able to have my own studio set up at home. Granted, it doesn't look like a studio, but the quality that it is
output.
Yeah. But it can get really expensive. So studios start from like £20 an hour. And you think, how long do you put on a song? How long can a song actually take? And you can start racking up silly money. And we're talking about £20 for like just a standard studio. If you want to go into some of them big boys that you see on TV, and it's got the desk that has
the fucking Dre studio.
Right, exactly. You're talking about
my house where he's got like 100 different things to press.
You're talking about $5 grand. $5 grand.
Yeah, the fucking
right, literally.
But like people
Timberland, man, is like
listening to this on audio now. I'm really sorry, but you can't see this hand demonstration. It's where they got all those knobs and they just get their fingers all over and just push them. Yeah, and I'm like, what do those knobs do, man? Tell me, like, I want to know.
This is what I'm saying. So those you're looking at like crazy money, like 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand a session.
Damn.
Is that an hour?
But just from
like a 4-hour block or something?
It will depend. It will all depend on the studio you're using, the relationships that you might have with whoever runs the studio, if the label has relationships with the studio. But just for a normal artist, if you're looking to make a tune, you're easily gonna rack up about $3 grand. Easily. So in production costs, in studio time, in the design of artwork, in uploading your music, in running the campaigns, like it's in mixing and mastering, like it's a big output, and you really have to love it if you want to do this like seriously and over a long period of time, because there are very little returns in the sense of you outlay so much. But yeah, so like I was saying, that's four campaigns in a year, which can get quite taxing, on top of doing all the things outside of it. So maybe doing your sort of radio promo and going to maybe 6 or 7 radio stations every time a single comes out, shooting videos, press, all of that is built in a campaign. So I spent 4 years just doing that and running as hard as I can. And when COVID hit, and it's mad when I say this to people, but I really see it as a blessing. It just enabled me to stop and think and reflect for a very long time, and just reconfigure what I wanted from this all and what I was going to do next. So one of the reasons why I haven't put out music, because I want to be a little bit more intentional with what comes next. I have got loads of ideas, so the ideas don't stop. My studio is literally just right next to me there, so the ideas don't stop. I'm always putting things down. I always get feature requests. Some things I decline, some things I jump on, so there's always stuff out there. Just in terms of, for me, I just wanted to and I'm getting older and I'm a dad of 2, so I just wanted to go back to that little boy that was excited about making music and producing this feeling for other people. And that's why I haven't put music out. It's okay, how can I get back to making music that elicits that feeling that I got when I was 9, 10, 15, 16. Same buzz. And so I'm just allowing myself to create, like, again, without no agenda. And so I haven't put anything out for that reason. Not wanting and trying, because I've got demos just sat there, but I want it to be right. I feel like this is like my whatever comes now in terms of project wise is my statement piece. This is what defines me. So like when I die, everyone will look back and be like, see when Rick put that out. Yeah. Everything else outside of that is great, but this next thing for me is like, okay,
legacy.
I'm at 100%. I'm at the age where it needs to, and whatever comes after that is great, but what comes now needs to define me.
That's incredible, man. So I guess it all makes sense when I start to weigh it up, I guess. We're trying to find a guy to master it. Do you have like a certain guy you go to? Is there someone who you go to like on the regular to sort everything out for you, or is it all mismatch?
A good trick or a good
is to go on Fiverr and find yourself a guy who will master it for cheap.
There is that trial and error.
Must speak English.
Trial and error. But I use this really good bit of software. It's online. It's called landar.com, and it does mastering for you. So you upload your song, and it does like a digital master. And when I tell people that, some people, they're like, there's no way. They'll listen to a master and be like, you've got someone to do that, haven't you? Who mastered it? And I'll tell them. And that's the beauty of technology. Just like we were talking about OnlyFans and Patreon, is technology has, the advancement in technology has gone so far that there's not much that we don't have access to anymore at a very reduced rate. So being able to have a machine, just algorithms, look at a waveform and make it right is it's almost like science fiction, but we have the access to those tools now. So I use that for my mastering. In terms of mixing, I spent years on YouTube learning how to mix. I mix all my stuff now. Yeah, I got to a point where what I heard wasn't, I could never describe what I was hearing in my head and what I wanted. And so I would go to get mixed, and it would come back, and sonically it was right. It meets the brief, but that feeling that I'm looking for just wasn't there. And it just got too frustrating to say, well, maybe you need to turn up this harmony, actually turned down the guitar, and I couldn't
shit.
I couldn't tell you what it was, but I
Yeah.
could feel it. And so I just spent years and years trial and error. So the first project that I mixed sounds like a bag of garbage now. But it got better over time. So now I understand my sound. I know what I'm going for, and I taught myself how to mix. So I do all my mixing, and then, like I said, I use landar.com for the master.
And with beats, how do you find the beats?
So beats is a bit of a duality thing. So relationships, 100%. You have to grow relationships in this industry with producers who are willing to work with you at the level that you are. And that might mean you end up getting services for free. I'm not advocating for that, because everybody should be paid for their skill and their time and their services. However, there is a big thing to be said for working laterally and building together and understanding where you are, and having an agreement that says, if for any reason this changes, I'm going to remunerate you, and that be from an honest place. So I've built loads of relationships with producers now that have credits that are crazy, but I can call them and say, look, this is what I'm working on. You know where I am. I might not be able to give you your fee, but let's work something out on the back end. So if the song does blow, from a publishing point of view, you're covered. That's the two things: is relationships and do good business. Always do good business when it comes to music, and allowing payment to be made somewhere else. Because independent artists, we don't have capital. We don't have 20 grand sitting there to say, oh, here, Mr. Producer, here's $5,000 for your fee. That doesn't exist. But what you can do is structure your agreements to say, if any reason this song goes, actually, here's 50% of the publishing. So what most people don't know is producers, they get 50% of every song. If they've produced it, it's 50%, because that's classed as writing. Yeah, that portion, the instrumental is almost like it's written. It's part of the song. So they get 50%, and then the other 50% is then delegated to anyone who's actually written. So producers, like I said, do good business, because if the song goes, then instantly they're happy. And then obviously, if you want to, on top of that, pay them their fee, then you absolutely can. But so I say, so there's relationships, I say, and then like the internet, being able to just go on to a beat store and go through a catalogue of millions of songs, and finding one that suits you. So it's a bit of both for me. It's a bit of both. So sometimes I have the time to sit down and go through like a catalogue of producers on one of those beat stores and pick things that feel like me or my style. Yeah. And then there's other times where I've worked with producers over the years and they know me, so they know what to send me. Or and there's other times when I go in and we just create afresh. So for me, it's a mixture. I think in the climate that we are in, it's just a mixture. I think every artist has their way, but there's just so many avenues of being able to make it happen.
Damn. All right, cool. Shit, man. This has been mad insightful, Rick. I appreciate it. I've just got one last question. Can you say the M word during songs, yes or no?
No, you can't. You can't say.
Why can't you, Rick?
I'll tell you why. I watched something the other day, and I've watched this a few times to get a better understanding of it. I think there are rules that we play and have universally when it comes to language and what we're allowed to call each other. For instance,
rules as artists or rules as a black person?
Rules as human beings and
put it this way, Garam, right? I can call you a Paki if I want to.
Absolutely.
And you won't get offended by it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You won't get offended by it.
But if I do it...
But then if somebody calls me a Paki, I'm like, who the fuck are you to call me that? Right?
So I'll give you an example that's a little bit closer to home. So there might be something that your missus calls you that is only between you two.
Right.
Yeah. Let me just say, so Jazz, if your missus, let's say your missus calls you babe, and I've come into a conversation, I've met you for the first time, it'll be crazy for me to start calling you babe. Like you just wouldn't expect that. Because you understand that that term is agreed between you both.
Agreed term of endearment or respect.
And I don't need to be told that. Like that's not a rule that without having to be told. And that's the same with the N-word. I think however you view it as a person of color, whether it's claiming the word back or you're disgusted by the word, there is an agreement that no matter what, that word shared between us is okay. Anyone outside of that, there needs to be some sort of rules put or understanding of why you'd like I said, there's nothing in me that would want to call you babe. Like, so for me, I think so why do you want to use the N-word? So where does that actually go? Do you see what I'm saying? If you understand those rules that we play in without having to be educated on it, it happens. It's just this N-word thing. I just think actually, I understand it because I do understand the nuance of it. I understand that actually when you look at the power that's been taken out of it and how it's now just in popular culture, I understand that. But there's still history to that word.
No, absolutely. And that's why, that famous bit, Samuel Jackson and Coach Carr.
Right.
Remember that scene?
Yeah.
Right. I think that's perfect, man. I direct people to that scene to say, look, what he says there makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
If you're promoting the use of the word and making other people think it's cool, that's not cool, man. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
And then the point I made to Indy on a podcast was that song by Jay-Z and Kanye West.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like, why call the song that?
I completely agree.
Use the word.
I completely agree.
But if I saw them, I wouldn't say, hey. Like, that's completely...
Right.
But if you're referencing the song,
for
me, I'd view that as separate to calling somebody that term. Like, that's completely...
I completely agree.
The intention of the word is... But it's an inflammatory word either way. Like, it's
however, like you said with the Jay-Z and Kanye thing, I do think as well, and rules that are unsaid, is you kind of have to like die by the sword. Like if you put it out there, then there has to be some expectation that somebody is going to use it in a way that you might not particularly like, but you've put it out there, so you have to expect some of expect some of that back. But for me, the general rule is it's a term that we all understand.
No, it's a derogatory term.
Right, 100%.
Right? Yeah, it is. You don't use it in normal conversation.
100%. 100%.
Indy, agreed. See, Rick has got my point here. See, you, no.
Yeah, I'm telling you why. No. I'm like, I don't make the rules. I just work by the rules given to me. All right, I got parameters. I'm walking in this box. Okay, that's it. Oh man, because there was that thing that happened at Kendrick's concert where he brought that white kid on stage and he said the M word, and Kendrick's like, that ain't gonna fly. And the kid was like, what? And Kendrick's like, you can't say that.
Okay, so in that example, was he saying the word to somebody, or was he singing a lyric?
He was singing.
He was singing the lyric.
I know that you can't sing that lyric.
But this is my issue with it. But you put it in a song. You put it in a song.
You put it in a sing song.
That people are gonna sing.
Song.
So what do you expect when somebody sings it back? Do you see what I'm saying? And like I said, I think it's very easy to be black and white about this, but there's so many nuances. There's so many nuances when it comes to culture and what it means for that little white kid saying the N-word. To them, there's no real connection. I'm not saying for every little white kid.
If they're not born in a generation where
there's no connection with
racism, KKK, all this stuff.
Exactly.
And they're saying it because they think it's cool and I idolize.
Exactly that.
I got caught
and
saying
I want
it
to
when I
be
was a
like
kid.
him, therefore I'm
Exactly
saying
that.
it.
Exactly.
Bro, I got caught saying it when I
that.
was a kid. I said it in the car to my brother once. He slapped me hard. I was like, "What'd you do that for?" He's like, "You can't say that." And I was like, "From that day on, I never said it." I was like, "Okay, I can't say this." Right? That's it.
Right.
That's it.
But like I said, with the Kendrick situation, there's too many nuances to it. You can't say something and expect someone not to say it back if you've put it out there.
Here's a question then, Rick. As a black person, why? Okay, yeah. All right. Here's the question. if the term is derogatory, the term has a lot of history. As a black person, why do you want to use the term?
So I don't personally understand that. I do empathize.
Rick, have you ever used the term to refer to one of your boys in that way?
Only in like jokes, like only and
This
normally
is
it's
the
in
thing,
an
jokes,
American
yeah.
accent.
But
It's not even in.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
not even
The whole,
like as
what's his
me.
name, man? Denzel in what's the film, man? Training Days. You know the whole
right.
Like
Oh,
everybody
Right.
does that impression, man.
100%. 100%.
Everyone does that.
100%.
But see, what Rick's point
100%.
here is interesting is it's different to Rick. Would you intentionally put in a public forum a lyric that people are going to hear versus in your immediate, like, close circle?
No.
And even then, you said close circle in a jokey way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I understand the term and I get that, like I said, I can empathize with people that saying they are reclaiming the term and the term is now just vernacular for something else and it doesn't even have its meaning in whatever it was before.
So their point is they rebranded the term. That's what they said.
Exactly that. And now it's just part of youth culture. And so that word doesn't have.
But if you talk to older folk
same-
about that, they're like, do not fucking say that. You don't understand the shit that was said to us by like skinheads back in the day. Like
Exactly.
Yeah, so it has
Exactly.
a very different meaning. So
and that's language. That's language. There's like like I tell you, funny enough, when I was growing up, saying the word fart was really bad. Yeah.
Farts.
So, fart.
Fart as in to break wind.
So give me a sentence. Like if you said, "I want to fart," that was like.
Yeah,
whoa.
I couldn't say fart. Fart in a Jamaican
So you
household.
say what? I want to
wow,
let
wow.
one off.
Oh, you'd have to say, I'd want to break wind, or I've
Break
yeah,
wind, Rick.
yeah,
That
like,
sounds so posh.
I'm
I
telling
want to break
you.
wind.
So the connotation of the word fart would be, say, let's you know how they say like money back in the day, then they inflate it for today's wealth, right? So fart in your days like fuck now. Let's say you had the
Right.
same
Absolutely.
weight of like
Absolutely.
wow.
Absolutely. So like for my parents and my grandparents, I could never say fart. That was almost
Could
like a
you fart?
swear. Of course you could.
Okay, alright, cool.
You keep that shit in,
I
boy.
couldn't say.
Keep it in, man. Don't fucking do anything. Alright? You only
And
fart in the
die.
bathroom.
You
die.
shit yourself, okay? You don't fart. Though.
So, but
Oh my God.
generations later, my daughter says it, and it's no issue at all. And she will say it in front of my mum, her grandma, and it's no issue at all. And that's again like the
Progress.
journey
Yeah.
of
Evolution.
language. Yeah, exactly. The evolution of
journey.
language. And and I can see and I understand. Like I said, I can empathize with some of that when it comes to the N word, but because of where I am in terms of what I know about the word, I can't overlook it. For others who might not have the same understanding of the history of where that's come from, it doesn't have the same connotation, and that's okay. From your viewpoint, I completely understand that, but for me, I have a responsibility because I know now where it's come from.
Responsibility.
Yeah, yeah.
And in that analogy, like you said, Rick, so with your daughter, what's an example of a word you're like, no, we don't use that word? What's your fart equivalent now? The evolution of fart word in your house?
To be fair, I think it's fart. I think it's-
Outside of basic, like swear words are universally accepted.
Right.
Bad. Unless you're Indy, who just likes to swear anyway.
Only now. I was never like this.
That's a whole different.
I don't know, like insults, like calling someone an idiot or a fool. I like those things. Are just like, you just find other ways of describing people.
As
but
in, you
About
would
clown.
you'd call them out and be like, why are you saying that? Like,
right,
you know,
yeah.
yeah,
Why
yeah.
is that person? Why have you called that person an idiot, or why have you called that person a fool? So yeah, and fart. Even I like when I like before I said it, I had to tell myself it's okay to say fart.
It's so good. I give myself permission.
I give myself.
It's so
permission.
innocent. It's so innocent. I love it,
It
man.
really
I
is.
love it.
That's cute. All right, we'll leave it there, Rick. Just before you go, we've got to do some quickfire questions. You got to
Yeah,
tell
man.
me
Boom.
the first answer that
Yeah.
comes to your head.
No
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
And
Okay.
hopefully I'll make this into an IG reel after. Maybe. But we'll see. Okay.
Should we do a practice?
So,
Let's do a practice one. Yeah.
let's do a practice
Okay.
one. Okay, who do you like more, me
Right.
or Garen?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Both of you. Both of you. Equal.
Oh,
fuck's sake, man.
okay,
See,
right. Look,
see,
listen. When we
he
get to the real
understands.
thing, listen. Who do you find more resonance with? Man, we've been vibing, man. Rick, this guy, he's basic, man.
Definitely Jazz.
He used to work for you, man. We're transcendent. Around music, right? Right, Indy,
Rick,
take
I
it
can
over.
ruin your life so quickly. Please don't. All right, okay, fine. Are you ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Who's your favorite artist?
Tank.
Who's Tank?
Tank's an R&B singer. He did BVs for Aaliyah, Genuine, and then started writing, and then became an artist. Tank. one of my
Okay,
favourite
all right,
artists.
safe. I will actually check them out because if you rate it, I respect it. Okay, cool. Is it a group or a person?
It's a guy. It's a guy.
It's
One
a guy.
guy.
All right, cool.
Called Tank.
All right, Kanye or Drake?
Oh, yay.
Ooh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Who's your dream collab artist?
Oh, Jasmine Sullivan.
Who's that?
She's a singer, American singer, but she's phenomenal vocally. So yeah, I feel like she would stretch me vocally. I would have to give everything I had.
You'd have to fart a lot.
100%. There'll be a lot of fun.
Had to do some mad warm up vocals and everything. What venue is your dream venue to perform at?
Madison Square Garden.
MSG, good choice. I was hoping, a part of me really hoped you would say the NEC in Birmingham, but clearly not. Like, it's cool. After you did the O2 Indigo, I knew it was never gonna pair with it.
Well,
we go.
there's venues that I've done as a backing vocalist, like I did Glastonbury a couple of years back with Stormzy.
Nice.
So I've
Yeah.
seen some. I've done the O2 at Greenwich as well. So I've seen some stadiums, seen some big stadiums, but Madison Square, it would have to be like, it's the pinnacle. You play there,
Of
you
course,
play
of
there
course.
and see dreams are made of.
Who's the most underrated artist in the game right now?
Oh, all right. As a rapper, I think Gets, UK rapper Gets, as a singer, I would say Jasmine Sullivan, one of my favorites as well. But she's getting
fair play.
her ratings now.
Who is the GOAT in R&B?
So this is really controversial. I can't say his name because he's not a really nice guy. Some of his
get it.
actions outside, some of his actions
Fucking knew it.
outside.
This is why I said it. I wanted to catch you slipping, and I caught you slipping. That's
Some
it,
of his-
Rick. You're cancelled forever.
No.
now.
So, you, as a statement of fact, when you look at what R&B is and his contribution to it, he deserves that title. However, because of his antics, he doesn't deserve any promotion. So, off the back of that, then I would probably have to say someone like I don't know, Stevie Wonder maybe. That's the foundation of
He's
of
more
R&B.
soul, isn't he? Like,
Yeah, but that kind of transitioned into R&B. But if we're talking about now, it'd be Usher.
I'm talking about like
Usher.
90s, 2000s R&B.
It'd be Usher.
Okay, cool. I can accept that. And last one, who's the GOAT in hip hop?
Ooh.
Oh, it's big. It's big. It's
No,
Biggie.
Head
no
of
question,
Jay-Z?
man. Like, straight. No question.
Biggie.
Ahead of Jay-Z.
Yeah. You know why? Cultural impact. Like when
Yeah, cultural impact, I understand.
Obviously, because-
But
Yeah,
That,
Jay's
that
alright.
answer is like when people say who's the best boxer and people say Ali. But it's,
Right.
it's the other stuff Ali did outside the ring. But
Right.
from a pure
no,
boxing point of view.
But Jay-Z and Biggie were there at the same time, innit? So they kind of can be compared. That's the difference.
Yeah, I say
Because
Jay.
Most
I
people
say
say
Jay.
Ali or Mayweather. That's different. But this is like, oh, Biggie and Jay-Z were there at the same time. Jay-Z wasn't at his peak. He was just warming up. But, yeah.
I say Big, man. Big's cultural impact is just crazy.
Okay, fine.
There you
Fine,
go.
fine. We'll have a chat about this.
He's not happy. Fine.
I'm
That's
not,
the end of the
I'm not happy.
podcast.
I'm not
Fine.
happy.
Fine.
But it's fine. It's cool.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
And genuinely, though,
I'm
Rick,
fine.
thank
You're
you
fine.
so
He's
much.
fine.
That's it. This podcast, fine. All right. Thank you for coming on, Rick. I appreciate it, man. Do you have anything you
Absolute
want to plug?
pleasure. No, because I'm just living life as a dad and a husband at the minute. So
I
nothing
think you
to
do.
plug.
So check out Ricardo Williams on Spotify for his song.
Yeah, there's that. There's that.
Follow
There,
him
check
on
me out
Instagram,
Spotify.
Ric
Yes,
Williams, at Ric Williams. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also have a podcast as well, don't you?
I do have a podcast. It's called the Middle Eight Podcast. It's with two amazing individuals. I like to call them UK legends. They've put the work in when it comes to UK R&B. Jermaine Riley, who was part of a group called Fundamental, and has been very successful himself. And then Cherry V, again, just amazing. So we talk about music, we talk about experiences in the music industry, as well as our blackness and what that means for us and general events in the world and stuff. So yeah, man, it's a great podcast. A bit like you guys, just bringing your experience and using that to kind of just talk about what's going on in the world and yeah, man.
I get it, man.
So Middle Eight Podcast.
And that, Rick, is how you market yourself. Yeah. Considering you work in fucking marketing, right? I am concerned. I gotta have a word with you.
I know. I'm off my game at the minute.
Alright, it's all good. Don't worry. I got you, man. I got you. Alright, cool. Cheers, guys. Thank you for listening. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Drop us a message if you liked it. If you didn't like it, let us know. Rick, thank you for coming on, man. You've been a great guest.
Pleasure.
Me and Garner really enjoyed this one, man. And we will catch you soon. Laters.